You're listening to Childcare Sights and Sounds, presented by Dani Christine Inc., a podcast made for childcare providers by childcare providers. All right.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone, to Childcare Sights and Sounds, episode number 2. We have now spent a whole episode's
Hour
worth
of trying to fix this.
trying to fix all the technical issues. But anyway, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Dani,
And I'm Gigi.
and this is a podcast for childcare providers by childcare providers. Did you like that intro, or should I change it?
It was fine.
You can.
It was fine. You know
can
I'm
be
not like a
honest.
picky person. No, it was
No,
fine.
the intro I made and put this with the music.
Just now?
No, but you did you not listen to the first episode?
But I listened to, I pressed
In
whatever
the
link
beginning, it had
you sent
music.
me.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it had music first.
Let me tell you, I was so nervous to listen to it. If I tell you I remember the intro and the music, no. I was focusing on, I fast forwarded to when we started talking, and then I literally
Wow.
stopped because I wanted to hear us.
She skips through our own podcast.
I wanted to just like
Don't
get
follow
through
her
it.
example, guys. Listen to every minute of all the juicy details.
And I couldn't even finish listening to it when you asked me. As soon as you said, "So tell me about yourself," pause. I was like, And now I know how you feel. I remember you used to tell me how you cringe when you listen to yourself.
Yeah.
I can relate 100%.
Yeah. So if this is the first episode that you guys are listening to, and if you don't know who I am, again, I'm Dani. I create videos on YouTube. I operate childcaresites.com. I've been on the internet in video for the past 8 years, and this is Gigi's only second time
Yes.
since in the past 3 days. So it's still new for her. But thank you for coming back and listening to this episode. For all those who did already listen to episode 1, where we dove deeper into how we formed a relationship, a working relationship, and a friendship as we run a child care center. Speaking of that episode, I know we recorded this intro already, but I'm just going to say it again and say it properly this time. The way that these podcast episodes are going to work and be released is that every Tuesday you will get an episode through audio. So that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream your podcast, it will be released on Tuesdays. And then the following Tuesday, you'll get a video version of this episode on youtube.com/Dani Christine. So episode 1 has already been out, and of course, if you're listening to this episode, so is episode 2. But if you're listening in real time as this episode is released, then you will find the video for episode 1 on youtube.com /Dani Christine, and then next week the video for this episode will be out. So just subscribe to both platforms, your podcast streaming platform, childcare, search childcare sights and sounds, and then on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Dani Christine if you're interested in seeing the video. That's all the announcements.
All the PSAs.
Yes. But in rewatching and editing episode 1, I realized that we did not really cover our positions in detail, like what we do within our roles, and go through our transition into the leadership roles that we have. So I kind of wanted to do that as the second episode because I think it's important that people see the perspectives that we have and also our many of the people that are listening are people that want to become childcare business owners, or probably um, become administrators in programs. So it might be of interest to see how we dealt with the transitioning. And that's what I was hoping we could do today. So,
Okay.
Gigi, can you
Yes.
tell everybody what your position is, what your title is, and then we can kind of get into your roles throughout your time being employed at my center?
My position at our center is operations manager. It's my title, and my position is basically, as Danny would say, is get the kids through the door. I'm. She loves to say that I'm the face of the center because I'm quote unquote the people person. So I'm the person that's out there representing our center, giving out information and making sure that our parents are aware of the services that we provide, and kind of will them in by the services that we do have, and let it be known that this is the best center to be at in Long Island. Then
Right.
once I get them through the door, I track marketing through one of our many platforms that we have. And then I let my director take it from there after that.
So, for clarity, well, before I get into that, you also have other roles.
I do.
Being
So
that she is,
let me
again, for
see.
clarity, is the lead person, the head person at the center or
But that
within
was
the
just the
company.
main thing. That was like
That's
the
a very important thing.
yes.
Yes, it's the
I'm
most
also
important position.
on mornings. I'm the dance supervisor. So that means I'm on the routes in the morning.
All right, scratch that. She is not supposed to be. She's not supposed to be on the band, but as
But
many of
it's
you know,
needed.
within childcare, sometimes we
Yes.
wear many different hats because we absolutely have to. If people call out sick, if too many people are out, or for one reason or another, we'll get in the kitchen, we'll get in the bathroom,
Yes.
plunging toilets, we'll
Yes.
get on the van if needed. But since she seems to not understand exactly what is, I feel like her Gigi's role is to make sure everything runs as smooth as possible, and she does it. And it's hard to kind of put that into words and have
Yeah.
like a description, because it's just, she is the person that knows right from wrong in all
Mhm.
situations and is responsible for making the right choice.
Woo, no pressure on my shoulders.
What do you mean no pressure? You've been doing this for over a year now.
Yeah.
um But in the last episode, we covered that you had first started off as the lead teacher in the school age class. So, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with other teachers or with anybody in the center, um, and how that kind of changed once I did bring you on as the assistant director? Like, what was your relationship at first from your first day walking in?
First day working as assistant director or
No, as
school
like
late.
an employee at the
Oh, I
center.
was that quiet staff member. Like I stayed to myself, but I think what forced me to um mix and talk was that I at the time was a floater, so I had to go in and cover breaks. And then sometimes teachers would take their breaks in the classroom, and most of the time it was during nap time. So it kind of forced us to talk and get a little bit to know each other during nap time. So it was awkward for me at first, but in my head I was like, okay, I just want to come in, cover breaks, and then get ready for my kids to come in. But it was good. It allowed me to get to know everybody. Some teachers sometimes come in and just stay in the classroom and get the chance to speak to other staff members until like the end of the day or on lunch breaks. But I got the chance to be in everyone's classroom at some time during the day, and it was nice. It was nice getting to know each other very early on. Um, so that it was fun. Then when I transitioned to assistant director, it was still kind of good because
Well, we can
everyone.
dive deeper into that transition, I know we briefly covered that you thought I tricked you into
Yes.
becoming the assistant director. What had happened was
Mm-hmm.
we had a different assistant director, and like I said in episode one, it didn't work out with that person. So I was
That
on the
person wasn't
hunt.
a people person, because they're gonna wonder why it didn't work out. That person just wasn't a people person, and in childcare, you do have to be a people person.
All right, I guess. Maybe I won't edit this part out. Maybe. But anyway, yeah, it didn't work out with that person. And I was looking for a different person to come on as the assistant director because I was already used to working and just getting into the habit of working on my business rather than in it all the time. It was important to me that we were growing and developing our policies and procedures. And if I had to go back to doing everything by myself, that was going to be paused. I would be the person wearing all the hats all the time by myself. So, um, as I mentioned in the last episode, seeing Gigi interact with everybody so well within the program and especially parents, um, she came to mind immediately to ask her if she would like to transition into becoming the assistant director. And do you remember what you told me at first? You didn't accept the position
I
immediately.
did not.
Do you remember how it went? I think it might have been like the last day of summer camp that I officially asked you. Or was it the
Yeah.
last day? It was the last day of something
It
because it
was
was
the last day
days
of summer. It was
later.
like a couple of weeks before the first day of school started, because we have a week
But
off.
no, so because you, as we said in the last episode, the first day of school, which was in September, you still were not the assistant director because you had
No.
handled the situation with the parent as the lead teacher.
Yeah. So there was a break. There was
Or
an in
are we
between break
confused?
somewhere. No, there was a break somewhere because I remember doing my end of the year talent show, and then first day of school came where I had to handle that parent, but your assistant director was still there, so I'm
No,
not
she definitely wasn't
not for the
because
first day.
no, because remember that person showed up to the talent show.
Oh
Do you remember?
yes, I yes. Okay, so our
Yeah,
timeline is a
something
little bit
is
off.
wrong with the timeline, but just in general, she did not
I did
accept
not take it at
at
first.
first.
No.
And do you remember now that we're, besties, can you tell me can you tell me what you were thinking?
Meaning, like, why didn't I just say yes right
Yes,
away to
why
it?
didn't you say yes immediately? I have my suspicions.
It was a mixture of things. I'm one of those people that I know is gonna sound crazy. Title means a lot to me. You know, title and the way you hold your title for me is two different things. Because anybody can have a title and then run with it in any way. But for me, assistant director is a huge title. I had no idea what assistant director was or what their role pertained to. Then it was, oh my goodness, I'm just getting comfortable with staff. Here I am about to be their boss. And then my daughter was still young. And I was like, okay, now my schedule's going to change all over again. That's going to affect her and how I get up in the morning. It was a mixture of things. I was terrified of taking it and not being able to even fulfill it the right way. Um, but ultimately, I was just scared. I
Yeah.
was just scared of becoming the best school age teacher ever, and then when she became assistant director, she dropped the ball on that. Because I loved being a school age teacher. Like that's when I had like the most fun. Not saying I don't have fun now. Okay, not saying I know it's gonna come, but that's when I had the most fun because I was more laid back. I didn't have to worry about 20 to 25 staff. Just have to worry about my 10 kids and supplies and all that stuff. But yeah, ultimately I was just scared, and I almost said no. My goal was to come back to you and said no. But then I sat down one day and I was like, why am I saying no? I know why I would say yes, but why am I going to say no? How am I going to benefit by me saying no and not accepting this position? Like, what am I going to gain? And I couldn't
Yeah.
come up with anything, you know?
So, I have a couple of things to add to that. I've been in that position where, in one of the centers that I in the center, and there's only one program I worked in before I started my own. A few months before I left that program, my boss had asked me if I wanted to be the lead teacher in the pre-K classroom. The whole time that I was there, for the 4-ish years that I was there, I was the assistant teacher in the 3-year-old room. And moving up to be a lead teacher was a step in itself, but moving up to be the lead teacher in the pre-K class was an even bigger step. And I remember I had said no to that because, and I'll tell you why, and this is why I thought you were going to say no. I said no because I had friends in that center that, I thought deserved the position more. And, I felt like I would be stepping on their toes if I said
Mm,
yes. And I didn't want to shake the table.
mm,
Thinking back to it now, I mean, it was probably only going to be like probably $1 or less more an hour.
uh-huh.
Um, but thinking back on it, and I know that my boss only asked me to be the lead teacher in that in that room because the person that she had as a lead teacher, she got in trouble, or there was, maybe got in trouble is
Oh,
not the right
what she
words.
get
I
out of
don't
trouble
know.
for?
She Because that lead teacher was not qualified to be a lead
Oh,
teacher.
okay.
So she was asking around to other people like myself and another coworker who were, in school for education, and we had the qualifications. So I think she was kind of just asking as a formality so she can put it on paper that we were the lead teacher, but she was labeling it as co-teachers with the other woman.
Wow.
Um, Anyway, I said no to that because I didn't want to step on my friend's toes. But in reality, had it been, if let's say it was a more important, like actually a lead role that I felt it would have been a step up, I think it would have been stupid to say no just because my friend wasn't offered
Yeah.
the position. Like,
Yeah.
I do think that she might have felt some type of way, but, um, does that mean I stop my
Your
success
growth.
and my
Yeah.
growth?
Yeah. If
But
anything, she should have been happy, and if she wasn't, that's not a true friend.
I think that she should have been happy for me, but just upset in general at the situation. She could have been upset in general or frustrated with my boss, but that shouldn't have anything to do with
With you.
me accepting
Yeah.
the position. And it's not like she said anything to me or told me like, oh no, you can't take it or you shouldn't take it. I didn't even tell her that I was offered. I just immediately said no. But back to you, I didn't think that you were afraid to step on anybody's toes, but I think that I thought that you were just really good friends and didn't, and knew that that relationship would probably shift once you did become, um, an
Assistant.
administrator, and
Actually,
you
they
didn't want to
encouraged
do
me
that.
to. All three of them, two out of the three was like, yeah, go
But
for it.
specifically, because nobody knows what you're talking about. So,
Mm,
2 out of 3 of the teachers that you
of the
were
teachers that were
closest
friends,
to.
yes, there were three
Okay.
of them. I was very close to all three. We hung out outside of the job and everything. Um, knew everything about my personal life. So three out of the two out of the three were like, yeah, go for it. Why not? I would. One was like, yeah, go for it, but do you even have the qualifications for that? I don't think you're gonna get it because of the qualifications. So
So, but speaking of that, I think that's a good point to bring up. And that
yeah,
kind of goes back to you saying you were scared and you didn't want to fail in the position because you were such a great school age teacher. What if you're
Yeah.
not a good assistant director?
Yeah.
I think that's important to note that, like, I and a lot of program owners and administrators and leaders feel that, like, you can't, there's a phrase that a lot of people use, and I'm of course not going to remember it. I should have written it down, but you can't teach something like, you can't teach someone to have, you can't teach personality, or you can't teach, um,
Is it basically like the qualifications you can have to like education?
yeah,
You
like
can't
you
earn
can,
the personality or the
yeah,
unique
the
techniques.
mindset or
Set,
something
yeah,
like that.
that is
So
unteachable.
I was very well aware that you did. Well, first of all, I'll put this out there. In New York, where my center is located, the director, who was me at the time, only needs to have an associate's degree, and work, or a director's credential, I believe, working towards a bachelor's, I think.
No, you're right.
Yeah. I at that time had my master's already. I was definitely qualified to be the director of my center that I owned. There is no qualifications required for an
For
assistant
assistant.
director. The assistant director position is not something that is really recognized in our center, in our state's regulations. It's like either you're the director, a group lead teacher, or an assistant teacher, and those are the things that have qualifications outlined in the regs. So operations manager, assistant director, administrative assistant, these kinds of other positions that schools create are positions within the company. So the company has the ability, my company has the ability to create whatever qualifications we want for any other sort of position, and that's what we did for the assistant director. Nobody can regulate what we, if we wanted our assistant director just to have a GED or no education at all, we could do that. Of course, it would make sense to put someone in an assistant director position and prepare them to, grow within administration. So you would want someone with an education, that is close to or approaching the qualifications of the director, but it's not like it's mandatory. So I knew what the qualifications were for assistant director because I made them up, you know? Um, and going back to what I was saying before about, like, you can't teach personality or work ethic or mindset. I knew that Gigi had all of those boxes checked off. She demonstrated very effectively that she was a very hard worker, willing to do whatever, whenever needed, for the right reasons. Um, so it was no doubt in my mind, regardless of the education that she had at the time, that she would be best fit for this position. Do you want to, I don't even remember what you had at that time. Were you just working on your associates?
I had just went back to school because I just had my daughter. No, I was already in school. I was in the process of working on my associate, which I done. Um, so I think I had just started with all of that. Wasn't even my when I first started, my goal was like, oh, I'm just gonna work and just finish out school online. So I had just started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the person that had asked you about your qualifications, I think it's important to note, is somebody that has been with me, employed by me for years, and had
All the
degrees on
qualifications.
degrees.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to mention that, like I said before, mindset and work ethic are important. You can be degreed up like a thermometer, but
Mm-hmm.
if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to learn and put in the time and dedication to the company, how can I trust that you will do what is best for my program? My center is my baby. It's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I care about the most. I'm not married. I don't have kids. This is what my hours and my sleepless nights go into. So I need to make sure it's in trustworthy hands of someone that I um, know is just as dedicated as I am. So the degrees don't mean anything to me. You can get them. I always bothered her
She
about you're
did.
registered for class, right?
Yeah. Are you
You're
in
right.
school? You better be in school no matter what I was going through personally. She was like, you'll be okay. You're in school, right? Like everything was just like as long as you're in school. But yeah. But basically is like someone who has a mindset of doing the right thing even when someone is not watching. And I think we both could agree that that person sometimes will do the wrong thing even when someone is watching.
Right.
um so definitely. um
Um,
but yeah, um they definitely were not the reason whether I took it or not, but I did want their input because those were the people at the time where I confided in and spoke to about many different things. So I did want to get their input and how they viewed it. And I actually think I had told you yes before even telling them, but just wanted to see their reaction. Because they were going to find out in a couple of days during our staff development day.
so yeah, so you that means you did handle the situation with the parent as the assistant director.
I did.
You made the transition over the weekend between summer
Yeah.
program and
Mm-hmm.
the fall program. So can you go into detail about like how you felt those first couple of weeks as the assistant director? Did attitudes towards you change? Were Was it
Attitudes
overwhelming?
didn't change. I did feel overwhelmed. I went in knowing from Jump Street that I was going to be there from open to close. So I mentally
Okay,
prepared for that.
for the record, nobody told this woman that she had to be there from open to close. She had a schedule. I even outlined what she should be doing at different points of the day. I
Yes. Oh,
made
I
it
remember
very,
that.
you remember that,
That
Scott? I
was a
put
nice. That was
in
a nice
details. I
schedule.
was like,
Didn't
assistant
happen.
director. That whose fault is that?
And I was everywhere all the time, but I get it. Yeah.
um,
But no, I just it's because I know, like I said, titles are important to me and they come with such responsibilities and there's no time frame to certain responsibilities. You don't just say if something is happening as the time for you to go home, you can't just say, yeah, I'll deal with that tomorrow. See, it's time for me to go home. Bye. No, if a child just bit another child, mom's on the phone, and you need a little extra assistance, that's when you need to take the initiative, know what role you have, and say, okay, this is not the best time for me to leave. Let me handle this, make sure everything is smooth. And when it is, I'll pick back up again tomorrow. Some things can't just be put to the side and wait. And you have to know that there's no let me clock out and go home. And childcare, dealing with children and dealing with parents, mostly the parents, because the kids usually bounce back really quickly. Parents are not going to wait. If they're upset, they're going to let you know they're upset right then and there. And it's your job to smooth it out so it doesn't escalate. Because we all know it can escalate very quickly when it comes to an upset parent. Um,
And
but
that's
yeah,
the
it's
kind of dedication that I was looking for in an assistant director, someone that knows it's not about them in the moment and is willing to go the extra mile, someone that's willing to go the extra mile whenever needed.
but yeah, it was definitely hard the first couple of days. Um, Teachers were still in my corner. I felt comfortable when needing to ask them to do things because we already had that friendship relationship. Because again, it's not even like what you say, it's how you say it. And then I did make it my business to show them that despite I have this title, I could still mop the floor. I could still give out lunch. I could still plunge that toilet. I could still do these things that I have done and that they are required to do at times. Just because I have this title doesn't mean that stops. Am I going to be able to do it as frequently as before? Absolutely not. I may ask you to do it, but I know in your head that I'm asking you to do something that you know you've seen me done plenty of times before. So it's not a power trip. It wouldn't come off as a power trip now. I'm telling you to do all these things and you never see me
Yeah.
done. That's not the
You were
case.
leading by example.
Yes. And I think that's very important. And it's very important because from what I've learned from our team at the time being a teacher is they want to feel that their boss are willing to do some of the things that they are required to do. Now, I understand as a boss, you don't have to. You're the boss. You don't have to because you're up there. But I think to have that relationship with your staff, you do need to let them know, yeah, at one point I was at your level. Like I told you before, our staff forget that you used to be a teacher, an assistant teacher. They thought you woke up one day and just own the center and have no idea the difficulties of children and parents. Um, and I think you had to bring it up a couple times during staff
I
meeting
bring
that
it
you used to be
up pretty
teacher.
much every staff meeting. I
They
bring up
forget.
the fact that, like, I know how hard it is. I know that I'm young, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's because I am a younger center owner that people forget that I have other life experiences. It might have not have been as long of an experience as theirs
Mhm.
is, because we know we have some teachers that talk about how long they've been
Mhm.
in the classroom. Cool. But I did the work that I had to do to get to where I am today, and I do have those experience. I also have the education and do research daily into what best practice looks like, and I'm trying to help you. And it's not just me. I think I do all that I can to make sure we get access to free trainings and professional development people that will come on site and show,
Mhm.
like, I take advantage of whatever we can take advantage of to help provide support for the teachers in the classrooms.
Absolutely.
But I do think that it is great that we have you on our administrative team that is able to be on site and lead by example and show that things are not impossible just because they're inconvenient or not easy at first.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's just shifting your mindset,
Yeah.
sometimes there's things where I be like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna do this? Or when am I gonna do this? But sometimes it's just shifting your mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, I have my days where it just shows on my face, but at the end of the day, I know I just have to get it done. Um, and just quickly change my mindset. And coffee helps sometimes. But mindset goes into it as well. Sometimes I see that I have to be the uplifter, even when I don't want to be the uplifter, because someone has to do it. Someone has to show them that this is rough, but we're going to get through it. Once it hits 11 o'clock, like you said, we're halfway through the day already. We could get through this day. Um, and just take it from there,
Oh, so
It's
much
much
better.
better. What did you do?
I have a huge ring light here now. For everyone that's just listening and not watching,
She just turned on her light.
I turned my ring light brightness up because it's so bright. I feel like the sun is just in my face. So I had it dimmed, but now you can
You
see
look
me.
better.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry for you guys watching this for the past 40 minutes at a dark screen. I didn't think that turning it up would do much, but that was a
But
start.
with the talk of the transitioning roles, how did you feel? I know you said you had confidence in me and you knew that you wanted me to take the position, but how did it feel, you being you, a Virgo, on top of that, having to step back and give some of the things that you were so used to doing to somebody else? Because for those of you who don't know her like I do, it has to be done the way she would want it, as if she was doing it. So I remember there were days when you were like, don't worry about that, I'll take care of that. Don't worry about that, I'll take care of that. It was very hard for her to give me things to do, but how did that feel for you?
It was hard, and I think that's definitely something that I still struggle with, because And I think that's something that a lot of business owners in general struggle with, that have like a team or are growing a team. Um, Delegating tasks is hard, especially when you have a vision of, even if it's as something simple as typing an email, like, you know exactly what needs to be said, you know how it needs to be said, you know, all of those things. So it's just so much easier. It feels like it's so much easier to just do it yourself. Um, so that's why I struggle with that even now to this day. But um, I think that slowly I have learned that even if it's not going to get done the way that I want it, the way that I envision it to look, whatever it is, whether it's an email or creating a template or organizing something or a phone call to be made, like if whatever task is not going to be done exactly like I want it to be done, as long as it gets done, as long as it produces the same result at the end, whether that be a satisfied parent or um, supplies coming into the program. Like, I'll give an example. So, one of the things that my center participates in is our local quality rating scale, a QRS. It's either quality rating and improvement scale, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's called Quality Stars New York,
Yeah.
but every state kind of has their own QRIS. Um, and one of the things that the QRIS does for us is it gives us supplies, equipment, furniture, toys, products, things that we can use in our center to help improve the quality of our program. And in order to get that, we have to fill out a lot of paperwork and forms and templates. And that's something that I used to do, being the owner operator, the director on site. I would communicate with our Quality Stars representative and get all of that stuff done. When we shifted last year, when we shifted our positions and we have a director on site now, that I gave that to her as a responsibility. And I kind of just, I knew that it was important, but it was something that wasn't that important to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
just getting free stuff. If she does it right, she does it right, and we get the free stuff.
Yeah.
I'll say, and I didn't, of course, I would never have said that, would say this to her. Um, and I didn't tell you, but like, I was very surprised that she was she was getting it done without even reaching out to me or asking for help about how do I fill out this form, and I didn't have to remind her to do it. Like, it's just been getting done, and I'm getting the emails that, oh, this is coming from Quality Stars.
Mm-hmm.
So that was surprising to me, but also like made me proud that I didn't have to tell her what to do or how to do it. She figured it out and is following the instructions from the QRIS person on her own. And not to say that she's incapable of following instructions or that it's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm so used to what feels like holding everybody's hands through every task.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys don't need your hands held all the time.
No, I
But
think sometimes you reach your hands
I
out
do.
and it's like, give me your hand, and you being the boss, quote unquote mommy, and we're like, okay, well, we're supposed to hold her
It's
hand because
like
she's the
teenagers.
boss.
It's like I'm
Is
holding
there's
my
no
teenager's hands crossing
yes,
the street.
exactly. Like with my child, if I reach my hand out, I don't have to use words. She knows to just take it 'cause it's just a natural reaction. And don't get me wrong, there's times where when you don't reach your hands out and we're that kid, reaching it out. But sometimes you do reach it out and we kind of I get comfortable, complacent of one of us reaching out. And that one of us needs to be the one to say, whoever's reaching out, no, go ahead and look on your own and then cross the street by yourself. But yeah, it was a long way to come. There were times where I was like, we could figure this out. We don't have to call her. We don't have to
That is
ask a
definitely something
question.
that in the beginning, so we're now skipping over to
We
where we are now,
Yeah.
because there is another transition from when you were the assistant director to now you becoming the operations manager, which happened last year.
Hmm.
And
I was kind of relieved at first when you first said, Drew, we're gonna make me operations manager. I was just like, well, first of all, I would like to put that out there. She didn't even have a title for me, y'all. It took her
okay,
like
so
weeks.
let's
She didn't know
for
what to call me. I was just
for
floating around the building.
for clarity, last June, so a full year ago from now, I was making the transition to moving to Philadelphia, and we had a plan to have three, actually four administrators working on
Oh
site,
yeah.
and
One was part time. Just put that out there.
one was a part-time
Yeah.
administrator, part-time teacher, but the three were their positions are now operations manager, director, and an administrative assistant. We knew that we were going to have back then we knew we were going to have a director for sure, because that was necessary as
Hmm.
part of licensing, and an administrative assistant help to help the director as needed, and just in the offices, whatever was needed, paperwork, it's a lot. um and then there was Gigi, who
Just there.
definitely, we didn't have the title of operations manager. This isn't something that is necessary
No.
as per regulations, but I knew, myself and my dad, who are the co-owners, knew that we wanted to put somebody who we could trust, that had our best interest as a company and as us, just people, myself
Hmm.
and my dad, in mind, and knew the culture that we were trying to create. Because keep in mind, my program at that time was only a little over 2 years old. So we are still building this, the structure of the
Hmm.
business and the procedures. We didn't even have like, now we have like teacher handbooks.
Yeah.
What do I call them?
Pa-
Operations
Operations.
manuals.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Onboarding
there were so
handbooks.
many things
Yeah.
that we did not have in place yet, and it could very easily just fall off track with me not even being in the state, and if we had the wrong person um, at the head of the company. And not to say that any of the people that we have in place would be the wrong person. It's just we wanted someone that was already at the, with us during the grind to
The
get to where we
transition.
are now.
Yeah.
So that was Gigi, but we didn't really know what her title was
No.
going to be.
She even asked her, she's like, what do you want to be called? I'm like, gee, wow. Don't even know what I am.
She was definitely a little salty in the first, like
Just a couple of
I
weeks.
told you about the position about a month or two before I
You left.
left. So probably around April or May, we started talking about, like, okay, this person's going to be the director, this person's the administrative assistant, and it was like, and then there's you.
Oh yeah, you like an afterthought. And I'm just like,
No,
well,
you were not
I'll
an
just come in every
afterthought.
day.
You you were not
And
an
then she put me in the
afterthought.
corner, guys, in the back of the
Okay.
office.
Gigi has the highest title and the highest pay in the company right now.
I
So
do. I can't even take that away.
we just didn't have the
No, but it
outline
worked
of her
out. Yeah.
responsibilities or the title just yet. And the reason for that is because we have been thinking about expansion and growth. For anybody wondering, like, why did you just make her the director? I forgot to cover that. The reason is because we've been thinking about expansion and growth. And if we open another location and I'm not in the state, who were we going to have to oversee both places. The person that is listed as the director of one center, as per regulations, needs to be at that center, the majority of time during the operating hours. So if we put her as the director, she would be stuck in that place. So we wanted somebody who we trusted that could oversee the operations and the culture within our current program and help us to start a second center freely without being worried of, are we going to get violations if a licensing comes and the director isn't there again and again and again. So she needed to be free to roam and but also the head of the company. So that's where the confusion lies. And I really wonder if there's other people. I'm sure there's got to be other programs that have gone through the same sort
thing.
of things. Because anytime I listen to any like YouTube video or podcast or anything, or go to conferences, everybody's got the same stories. Every program goes through the same things at one time or another.
My A player, and I couldn't let her go, so I had to figure out where to put her.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about how salty you were those first 2 months? And I think it was just because I think that it was only because other people, our teachers, didn't know how to take what your position, like they were confused. And I think that was rubbing off on you, even though you should have known very well that what your place was. But everybody else was like, huh?
I like how you're justifying my feelings, but then making sure that I should have not felt that way in the process. Should have been known, an unwritten rule, right?
But do you remember that staff meeting where one of the teachers was like, well, do you remember who I'm talking about? And they asked, like, well, what
am I going to be doing? Oh, yes.
And then
one of the teachers was like, well, is there going to be an assistant director role? Because we took that role completely away.
There was another teacher that specifically turned to you and asked you, well, what are you going to be doing?
Because I actually don't remember that. Well, dang, if that didn't sting, I don't know what would.
It did, because I remember you coming to me, I think if not later that day, the next day, and then bringing it up. And I had to be like, we're figuring it out. I think because during that staff meeting where that teacher did turn to you and ask you, well, what are you doing? It was because I had outlined, the director we have in place now. I basically was letting everybody know I'm moving to Philadelphia. This is the director. This is what she's going to do. And I was outlining everything. And at that time, I don't think I mentioned you. And I think that's what caused that teacher to ask, well, and rightfully so, be confused, because you were my assistant director this whole time. And now it seems like this person, to the teachers, it seemed like this new person was kind of jumping over you and becoming the director. Because we didn't have the title,
the normal transition. Also. But that was
are you getting salty all over?
No, I'm not. But I do remember trying to figure out, well, where am I gonna fit into this whole new transition period? First of all, you were leaving. I didn't want you to leave. I was just salty behind that alone. And then it was like trying to figure out, okay, she's leaving. Okay, where does that leave me in my position? What am I going to be doing? And at the time, I know there were such things as operational managers out there, but for childcare, like, what does that mean? It's there. It would be one thing if it's a company, like but in childcare that could be different. The role, the responsibilities could be different. So I was like, okay, well, here we go again. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, and I'm nervous that I don't drop the ball again.
I feel like that is going to be your position for years to come as we continue to grow. So just get used to it.
Go to every center and site and diffuse it and implant our culture and make sure that things
Well, I'm just
run.
talking about like the fact that you're like, okay, here we go again. I don't know what to expect.
Uh-huh.
Because as we, of course, yes, as for the foreseeable future, I do see you remaining the operations manager. But what about when we get to a point that we have like
Multiple
four
centers.
or five centers, and now
I
you're
guess
like
that,
the
what is that
regional
called?
director? What does
Regional
that
director.
mean? You know? So
Oh,
you should be
it's so funny
happy
you
and
mentioned that
proud
because,
that you're in this top position
yeah,
and
it's funny
growing with
you
us.
say that because remember, like one day I was ranting, and you would say, "Well, that's like 20 staff members, and imagine when you have 4 centers with times that much staff to deal with." Oh, gee, yeah, can't wait for that.
Yeah. Everybody that is, I don't think you can comment on podcast episodes, like if you're streaming, but if you're watching this video on YouTube, let us know if you've experienced anything similar in your programs over the years, or any of your staff or coworkers have experienced anything similar. I'm very interested to know that. But speaking of commenting on things, I do know that on podcasts, like you can give ratings. So I would love it. I'm sure we would both love it if you could give
Yes,
a 5-star rating on this podcast and leave us a review. Any review with a 5-star rating, we will pick some to read out during an
yay.
episode. um, Okay, so now we're at you being the operations manager. When did you feel like um you fell into your role and like understood? Like how many months did it take?
It took a while. It took a while because I think there were also times where I would hit you up and say, well, what do you need me to do? Or what's the description? I think it took going to one of our conferences. I think it
In
was our
October?
first, yeah, and that was
Was
the
that
first
Orlando
time.
or was that Atlanta?
That was Orlando. Atlanta was recently.
Oh yeah, Atlanta was January and
Yeah,
Orlando was
it was
October
Orlando.
2019.
I think that's when it really sunk in what you needed from me, what your ultimate expectations of me were, and what direction you wanted me to help your company to go in. Um, Going to that conference helped identify me in that role because I we split up. Usually we're together, but we had to
Mm-hmm.
split up. So I got the chance to talk to other people who are in my positions or in similar positions as myself, and it gave me a better understanding of how to go about my role and how to also go about speaking and leading our staff. So that's, I would say, October. So what is that, like a month and a half?
No, you were in the position of operations manager since June of 2019. So that was actually since May of 2019 because I think I transitioned all three of you into your administrative roles a month before I left so that we could get used to those roles.
Yeah, I knew
Um
you wanted me to boost enrollment. That I knew off the back, and I think I had did that first summer where we're at 100 capacity. But then when the 4 year came, and
100 enrollment.
yes, yeah, for the summertime. Um, but after that, as far as anything else,
Actually,
I
no,
just
no, no. Just for the record, because I don't want just keeping everything on record. We did not have 100 enrolled in the summer. We had 100 enrolled by the end of the school year because we had the different UPK
age
and school
groups,
age.
yeah,
In the summertime, we were at capacity, which was I think
with summer care.
76 at that
Hmm.
time.
So that's the only thing I knew from Jump Street. It was like enrollment, enrollment, enrollment. Like,
We were trying to make sure I was trying to get you to make sure we were continued to be fully
yes.
enrolled and got our numbers back up for September.
Hmm. And we
um
did by what, by October, November. I know it took
I
us a
feel like
month.
in October we were no, I remember this because it was a stressful time.
Yes,
Our
and we made a
enrollment dropped.
competition.
Our enrollment dropped in
after the
September
summer.
through November. In November is when we changed one of our preschool rooms into
Classrooms.
toddlers 2. And
Yeah.
once we changed to toddlers 2, we
It went
saw
back up.
increase in enrollment for a couple of months, and now there's coronavirus. So here we are.
We rolled with the times. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
We had a
So
high demand for toddlers and we weren't listening to it, but it was a lesson learned, a
it
marketing
sure
lesson, I would
was.
say.
Well, just an operational one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we had the conversation back in August or
Mm-hmm.
September about switching one of the classes to toddlers, and you talked me out of it. And then I'm just
You
kidding.
didn't know if you wanted to do it. Like, I'm one of those people, when you say go, I run with it and get the little soldiers lined up and be like, this is what we're doing. This is what she wants. Let's get on it. But it was just a lot of uncertainties because we had to now move. Our UPK teacher at the time was in there. It was just a lot of things that went into changing the classroom that would have had a ripple effect. But nonetheless, we did it and it turned out great.
Yeah. I would say that for the first 6 months of me living here, I was
It was rough.
constantly stressed.
Yes.
I was so stressed. And I'm bringing this up because you mentioned about like, oh, let's figure it out first before we call her. Like, you don't have to call her to cross the street. Remember that analogy?
Yeah.
You guys were calling me for everything back
Yeah.
then, and everything was giving me so much anxiety that I already had because I had moved. And
And we were also still learning a lot
of
too.
course, yeah, you
You know,
rightfully
there
so.
was a
You
lot
should
that
have.
we were so pressured to wanted to do so right, and we didn't want. You just left. We were just so. It was like walking on eggshells for you.
Right. But we also went through like a really traumatic experience the day that I moved.
Yeah,
And maybe we
I
can
forgot about that.
expand
How
on
could
that.
I?
We can expand on that maybe in the secret sound where the
Yeah.
camera turns off and we just do audio only. So for everybody watching this video on YouTube, if you have not heard the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, go over to that, search childcare sights and sounds, click subscribe, and listen to this episode through the end because we have additional segments at the end of every episode where we speak more on whatever we were talking about in the episode. So I'm sorry, I was looking at my microphone and wondering why it didn't sound like it was picking up. Do I sound low to you?
No, you sound normal.
Okay. So yeah, head on over to the audio only version and then listen to the secret sound where we might expand on the traumatic experience that
We
happened
should. That
day
was the
one
first
of
time.
me moving. But I think that traumatic experience helped to make everything else less of a problem. Like the other little things that you guys would call me about, I was just like, oh, that's it. Because from that point on, anytime that they called me, I immediately thought the worst and was stressing out. And it could be like, oh, this parent forgot to sign out their child. And I'd be like,
No.
stop calling me.
At one point, I was like, we're not going to call her yet. We're going to see if we could do this on our own. And then we'll call her, or then we'll tell her how we solved it.
Yes.
And then call her afterwards.
And that's something I think I told you a lot was I don't want you to continue calling me with problems. I want you to call me with solutions.
Yeah.
Tell me how you fixed the problem. And of course, there are certain things that you might not be able to fix or things that I need to handle. But being that we were there are some programs that have just a director and that's it.
Yeah.
We are a program that was licensed for 76 and we had 3 basically 3.5 administrators on site. We're paying a lot of money in administration, and a lot of programs might frown upon that. And think of it as money wasted. But again, I'm thinking about growth, and I would like to build up the administrators that know our culture because they've been with us for a while. And when we do get that second center open, we can just pick this one up and put them over there. So, and then they can figure out how to handle things on their own or with just 2 administrators, because it is not, I would not recommend having 3 or 4 admins on site in one location of less than 100 kids. It's just not necessary. But being that it wasn't necessary and we were spending all this money in administration, I do not like the fact that I was so stressed and constantly problem solving on top of that. If it was just one of you guys, I could understand. You need the support. But being that there's 3 of you, it was just frustrating. On top
How does it feel now, though?
Now I feel fine because I don't know. And I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if I feel fine because
no one's calling you anymore.
No, y'all talk to me every day. From the morning, I'm getting text messages. It's definitely, you guys are not calling me with like problems, which I appreciate. But I don't know if I feel fine because I'm just numb to the, I don't know if it's like so much has happened.
She's numb to us, guys.
No, not numb to you, but numb to the stress. Like, I don't know if I've just gotten used to all the problems at this point. We've been operating the center for over 3 years. I've been off site for a year now, and problems are going to happen, and maybe I'm just used to it, and maybe I expect it. I don't know. But or if it's because you're coming to me with less problems. I haven't dived into
simple stuff, basically.
Yeah. So whatever the case is, I do feel a lot less stressed. I'm not waking up and immediately thinking, what's on fire today?
I remember you used to tell me you used to set your alarm for 6:30, but
yes,
I think a couple months ago you don't do that anymore, right?
No. I do wake up every day like around 7 naturally. I have an alarm set to go off at 7:25 in case I don't wake up at before 7. But I used to, when I first moved, I have the cameras on my phone. So I would wake up at 6:30, turn on my cameras and watch everybody come into the building and like see how things were going. I remember the first couple of weeks, I would wake up and call our director and give her things that I saw or things that I needed her to do, or even like, it was a lot. I was doing a lot. I'll admit that. But it's because, again, we were just coming off of a traumatic experience, and
we were still transitioning.
We were still transitioning.
September, October, whatever the case was, it was still fresh. It was just unfortunate that situation happened during that time. We couldn't transition as smoothly as we hoped. But you know what? It's gonna sound crazy, but that was the icing on the cake. It made us stronger. It made us appreciate.
Well, let's get into that in the secret sound. Well, we can. It's been like an hour, or probably over an hour. We've been recording. But yeah, so it's past 10 o'clock now, and every morning we have a morning meeting with our administrators, and we usually do it around 10, but we're still in this podcast, so we're gonna hurry up and go through the secret sound really quick. So everybody that is watching, please head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, wherever you get your podcast streaming, and subscribe, leave a review over there, and listen in through the end of the episode to hear us go into more detail about that experience. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Childcare Sites. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.